Good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 5 of our little cooking odyssey. So far, we've had all kinds of carbs. We've had pastas. We've had biscuits. Ugh, such a hit. Today, we're going to do something a little bit healthier. We're going to have what is lovingly referred to in my family as Frocia. Now, Frocia is an old Italian recipe. It goes back somewhere to Sicily. And as I remember the story, it goes like this. When my folks got married in 1951, my father was an excellent cook because he grew up in an old Italian family, and my mother was not such a good cook. She was her mother died when she was very young, so she had to go to work. So mom was a dancer and a choreographer and an artist. So when she got married at 25 years old to dad, she knew virtually nothing about cooking or sewing or housekeeping, and that all came from dad. So one of the favorite Italian recipes of my family is called Frocia. When we're all done, it looks like this. See? That's not intimidating at all, is it? Frocia was a very specific recipe in Sicily, but when it came to the States, we all changed it a whole bunch of ways. It's a favorite, an absolute staple, a favorite in my family, and every one of us have changed it our own way. I remember once there was a contest. Everyone made their own Frocia. Mom made one, Dad made one, I made one, Candy made one, Jessica made one, Val made one. Everybody made a Frocia, and they were all delicious. They were all spectacular, but they were all completely different. The reason to tell you that story is because you can change this up any way you want to change it up. I'm going to give it to you a very easy way, and then let your imaginations run free. Just do that. This one is a spinach Frocia, which I find is the best leafy green vegetable to use for this recipe. I've tried it with kale, much as I love kale, not so good. Tried it with Swiss chard, I love Swiss chard, but not so good. Stick with the spinach. So we're gonna learn a very easy way to do this today. I can barely see you, you know that? A, it's early, and 2, I dropped my glasses right before I started this and I broke them. So these have no glass. Aren't they cute though? But no glass in it. I can't see dick. Whatever. Anyway, stand by, folks. We're going to have a good time today. I can't see my clicker. Well, here we are. Okay. All right. Now let's start with the very basics for Frocia. You're going to need at least 1 package of frozen... Okay. Now let's start with the very basics of this recipe. You start with 1 package of thawed, frozen, let it go, no, let it be, that's another show. Frozen chopped spinach, which you've thawed and you've squeezed all the additional water out of this. It doesn't have to be bone dry, but it's best if you squeeze them out. I love fresh food. I love fresh spinach so many ways, but for this recipe, a frozen chopped spinach is really better. So that's 1 package, whatever. To that, we're going to add, this is all the goodness that's going inside, about 2 diced cloves of garlic. Here's a pile of Parmesan cheese. Here's a pile of Gruyere, I can't say it, but cheese, pine nuts, and diced green onions, along with some red pepper flakes and salt. These are the basic ingredients that are going to go into the Frocia. It's going to end up looking like this, but we're not there yet. Stand by. What the frick am I doing? Now, the thing that makes the crust on a Frocia in normal circles is I use a combination of Italian breadcrumbs, flavored or on, who cares, and panko, because that just gives it a nice little crisp edge to it. I have a couple of nieces that are gluten-free. One of them is Angela, the doctor, who is going to be called into service ahead of schedule with this virus. Oy, my darling. Anyway, she and her sister Mia, these are Candy's daughters, are gluten-free. So Ange was spending a weekend with me from Peoria Medical School. She goes to U of I, or went to U of I. And she's gluten-free and she loves Frocia. What do? They make gluten-free breadcrumbs, but I couldn't find any. So I came up with what I thought was a scathingly brilliant way to go through this, and that is I bought a package of potato chips. No gluten in potato chips. I like the kettle chips, sea salt, and bonus, this one, 40% less fat, if you can believe that or not. So we're gonna bash the crap out of these chips and make our own breading with that. Stand by. Okay, here's how you do that. You take your delicious potato chips and you dump them into a bag. I'll save those for later. Seal it up, get as much air out of this as you possibly can. And then, because we hate the coronavirus, but we're all being very good. Ooh, what was that? Stop it! You take your shit. Okay, so here's what you do if you're gonna use potato chips. You take your delicious chips and you toss them into a baggie. About that much. There's a few left. I'll save those for the 6 movies I'm gonna watch later. Get a lot of the air out. Okay, seal that up. And because we're all going just a little batshit crazy over having to stay home all the time, this I think will be very helpful to you. You grab a rolling pin. I'm lonely. I hate being alone. Well, let me clarify. I love being alone, but I miss my friends, my family. This is... So you take it all out on your chips. Get those suckers nice and small. Keep breaking them up. Hey, you know what would be good is if you used some kind of a hot, spicy jalapeno chip. Just saying. That would be good. Break these up. Get them. Stand by. Okay, I've bashed my potato chips. Remember, if you're going to do this the regular way, you're going to use breadcrumbs and panko. I'll show you how that works later. But we've got everything laid out and we're ready to go. So we take all these nummy, fresh ingredients and throw them in a big mixing bowl or beaker or whatever you got hanging around. Get that good cheese in there. Get that going. The pine nuts. Oh my God. Pine nuts are key to almost anything you would do because they're just delicious. Get that all in there. Do you respect the fact that I'm using a utensil and not my fingers? Whatever. I'm the only one that's going to eat this, so who cares? But when you do it, if you're cooking for people, use a utensil. All right, so that's all in there. That's, mix that all up. Boom, boom, boom. What I didn't add yet is salt, so about that much. Now we're going to add the spinach that I have thawed and squeezed, which was really kind of fun. Do that, put that all together. And to this, we add 2 eggs. 1 and 2. All right, you don't have to scramble them ahead of schedule. Just get that all mixed in there together. And this is what's going to be cooking in just a few minutes. It's delicious. So this is a really wonderful recipe. Now, if you have kids that don't like spinach, what's wrong with you, for starters? Number 2, they're going to love this. I promise you. You can put anything you want in it. I grew up on nothing but fresh food, fresh vegetables, fresh fish, fresh meats, fresh everything. Nothing frozen, never anything out of a can. And when I'm shopping these days, well, not these days, but all days, and I see these young moms with, carts full of packaged goods and canned stuff and frozen stuff and whatever, it just breaks my heart. So you just need somebody to teach you how to use fresh ingredients. None of this had any preservatives in it. None of this was packaged. The spinach that I bought frozen was just frozen spinach, the end. So I don't even count that. So please start learning how to cook with fresh foods, fresh ingredients if you don't already. All right. That's all just gushed together, right? Looks like a lot of nothing. It's gonna be really good. Okay, start to finish, this whole recipe is gonna only take you maybe 10 minutes. And when we put it all together and we start to cook it, I'm using these wonderful Misen pans, M-I-S-E-N. It's important that you have a good piece of coated cookware. Very important. And don't use ever any metal utensils. That'll just kill it. The heat is about this. I don't know if that means anything to you. You know, you don't want it too hot. You don't want it too high because it will burn. And you start and you get the pan nice and hot. I'm almost there. And then, of course, we add to that the most brilliant ingredient in the world, olive oil. Don't be shy. Use a lot of olive oil. You'll be able to tell. Move camera. There you go. Oh, I love that thing. You'll be able to tell when it's hot enough to cook because the oil will react differently in the pan. So just get that covered. And now comes the magic part. Let me see if you see the pan better. There you go. Perfect. So we got the olive oil in there. I recommend you don't put your hand in there, but I'm just trying to feel. Now we take these delicious potato chips, which of course are also covered with oil, and get those across the bottom of the pan. Bum, bum, bum. Be generous, because this is your crust. This is it doesn't have to be perfectly covered, but get it in there. Boom, 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 boom. Get everywhere. Oh, sheesh. Okay. Then you lob in this awesome concoction we just made. Kind of be careful the way you put it in. We're going to spread this out gently so it goes edge to edge and cooks evenly. Don't forget we got 2 raw eggs in there. So if you have your heat too hot, it'll only burn the outside and won't cook the eggs. I don't recommend that. Okay. Now, very carefully get that edge to edge in your pan. You hear it? Oh, mama, mama. Try to get it spread as evenly as possible without a big ball of it in the center of the pan. And then because of the plates that I'm going to use to invert this out, buy good equipment. Mostly I do, but that time I didn't. Make a nice shape. Get it in there. Get where you want it. And then very important, so you don't burn, keep shaking. The egg will hold everything together. And do this until, I couldn't tell you exactly how long. It's different every time. Several minutes. We want to cook the egg and we want to brown the outside. Okay? Da, 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 da. Teach the kids how to do this. This is a really delicious thing that they can make by themselves. You should supervise because we're dealing with fire here. However, fresh foods, my darlings. Fresh foods. Especially now, when the tendency is to finish that bag of chips. I shall report later. The smell already in this house is brilliant. Do you notice that everything I cook has a great smell to it? This is love in Italian households. This is love. This is the smells. Right, Mom? Right, Dad? Okay. There they are. Okay. I did see 2 cardinals out my window this morning, which was great. I'm being very Earth Mother today. Why? Because I can. Okay. That's looking good. So before you go to the store to buy the ingredients for this delicious, delicious treat, brush your teeth, put on your makeup, fix your hair, get dressed. Do not stay in pajama pants. Do something. Do something for somebody else today. That's really key. Did you hear me? Do something for somebody else today. For instance, these 2 delicious Frocias, I'm going to take over to my sister Jody's house, who has been housebound, of course, like the rest of us. We're going to fill ourselves with this, and then we're going to go into the forest and we're going to walk it off. Although this is not a high-fat thing, Actually, this one is because we're using potato chips, but normally not so much. Okay, that's smelling a little good. A lot good. I'm gonna let it cook a little longer. What I did here is, I may have used a little bit too much oil in this one because a lot of oil is coming off of the potato chips. Forgot. But you don't usually have to cook this for more than maybe 4 minutes, as long as you keep shaking it. Okay. Once you've got one side cooked, take a plate that sort of fits. I'm close. Ouch! And flip it. And it looks like that, right? A small 3rd-degree burn. Don't worry about it. I'll get over it. A little bit more oil, not as much this time because I'm going to compensate for the oil on potato chips. Get that spread around. Chips or breadcrumbs and panko, whatever you want to make a crust. Get that in, spread that around as evenly as possible. Ba, 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 ba. Then you take this gorgeous thing and slide it back in. Boom. And begin shaking. Now I can tell from the color of this that I should have left it in a little bit longer. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. What do you want? But you'll see how beautiful this turns out when we're all finished. Don't you think so, Mom? All right. Another thing that I find critical when I'm doing a project, for you or just for me, is keeping the kitchen clean. Nothing drives me crazier than a chaotic, dirty kitchen. So if you get shit on the counter, get rid of it immediately. I'm not talking about your cardinals. Keep those there at all times. Come on, come on, come on. Okay. And keep shaking. Okay. Stand by. Okay, how about a little musical interlude? He's a real knowing man, sitting in his nowhere land, making all Okay, I cleaned the entire kitchen while you were gone and let this cook. I don't see any oil bubbling up around the ends, so it's actually quite perfectly cooked. All that egg, all that goodness on the inside, it's all cooked as well. So now to plate this, all you do, simple as can be, I like to use a plate that's a little bit bigger than the Frocia itself. Can you see this? Get over there, camera. Hey, whatever. And gently, look at that. Ha 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 ha. Perfection. Follow me. Well, I'd say this was a pretty successful go-round. We have my earlier Frocia made with breadcrumbs and panko, all the same stuff on the center. And then my latest with potato chip crust. Be clever, be creative. These are both going with me to Jody's house. The way I cut them is with a pizza cutter, which is perfect. And I cut it just like a pie. Look at that. This one I'm cutting because I can touch it, it's cooler. And it is so good. Now, if your family does not eat the entire thing the same time you make it, there's many ways to enjoy this later. It's good hot, it's good cold. It's good, we used to take 2 pieces of these, look at that, isn't that pretty? And put some ham and use it as a piece of bread, and make a ham sandwich. Or you could put a nice poached egg on top of this for breakfast. This is really good if you do a slathering of, believe it or not, syrup is really good on it. And also, well, just about anything. Use your imagination. There's rarely any left in my house after we cook something like this. But if there is, you can eat it any which way. Now let's see. Testing. Don't get jealous, but I have to make sure. I can't talk to you now. I'm busy eating. Oh my God. And it's so delicious. And it's so good for you. So make some spinach. Here's what you need. Go to the store. You buy frozen spinach. You buy breadcrumbs. You buy panko. You probably have some potato chips. You need pine nuts. You can use any other nut you want. But pine nuts are really the best in my opinion. This is also good with some dried cranberries in it. Dried cherries I have. That's our lesson for today, folks. I wish you were here. I wish we could eat together. But I promise you, once we do have the opportunity to be together again and eat again, you're all coming. What the fruck? You're all coming over and we're gonna play together and we're gonna cook together. So, bon appetit! Notice today I didn't call any fire departments, no cops. I'm kind of miserably lonely, but we eat well. Abu Danza. Nothing's happening. Okay.